Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sips and Scripts. I'm your host, Justin, and we are here today with a special guest, Kelsey. Hello, Kelsey.
Hello, Justin.
How you doing?
Oh, just great. Happy Sunday.
Good.
How are you?
Oh, I'm well. I'm well. Happy Sunday to you. We are here to talk about one of your favorite movies,
hmm
and we have different drinks, but we are having a little drink. So, cheers to you through the internet.
Cheers. Yes, cheers.
So why don't you tell us what movie we'll be discussing this evening?
Yes. Studio Ghibli historical movie, Spirited Away. So it's actually the very first anime movie I ever watched when I was younger. So one of the classics.
That is awesome because you know, disclaimer and feel free, everyone can yell at me in the comments. This is actually my first anime movie.
There we go.
So I am very honored that you would share such a film with me. So in your own words,
hmm
what happens in this movie?
Yeah. So main character Chihiro, her dad gets a new job, so they're moving to a new town. You kind of see opening scenes of her being all fussy and, preteenish. Oh, I don't want to move, leave my friends kind of thing. They end up finding this old like festival town that has a bunch of shops, which ends up kind of teleporting Chihiro into this fantastical world full of spirits. There's a bathhouse that she ends up working at, and then kind of goes through her trials and tribulations of getting her parents back and returning to the normal world and what all she has to go through. So lots of different animated scenes and great graphics and everything there. So I'm excited for you to watch.
Excellent, excellent. So you said this was one of the first actual anime film that you watched. So how old
Yeah.
were you? Take me back to that time.
I was in grade school, probably like fifth or sixth grade. And I think it was on Showtime, or one of the movie channels that like you can get on pay-per-view. And I think it came on one day and I was like, ooh, this looks cool. So I watched it and then I kept rewatching it. And I honestly can't say how many times I've watched it, but it's probably close to like 50 or more over my 28 years of life. So it's one of my favorites.
Okay, so walk me through what was it about this that stood out to you?
So Studio Ghibli is actually obviously like one of the most notorious anime movie studios, specifically because of the director. I think it's just kind of the character development, the design in general, kind of the emotions that you feel, because it's very easily portrayed by the voice actors. And it's just beautiful. Like the worlds that Hayazaka is able to build out is really, really awesome. So it's kind of like with all the movies there. So My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, like all the worlds that he's able to build are just beautiful there. So you'll get to see soon.
I was gonna say, so um I will say this about the movie. It as a first anime film, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I've tried, just a little bit about me. I've tried to watch it. I've tried to do the Dragon Ball Z's. I've tried to do the
hmm
the fighting stuff and the Attack on Titan. I've tried,
You've tried
and
to
I'm
watch
just like,
Attack on Titan? Hold
I
on, pause. We got to go back to that real quick. You tried
yes,
to watch. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Did no one warn you?
no.
Oh, okay.
I'll just people will be like, oh man, y'all should see this, and I'll just be like, oh sure, and I'll click on it, and I'm like, what?
That
And
is not a
I'm
starter
always completely
show
lost.
at all. Yeah.
Well, see, and that's the thing. It's so hard because there's so many like aspects of anime, and I just don't
hmm
know what to get into. And I'll tell you, I've seen the cover of Spirited Away so many times, and it's
hmm
been so it draws your attention. There's
hmm
who I late now know is Chihiro sitting on the train with no face,
Yep.
and I'm just like, wait, is that a ghost sitting? Like before I watched this movie, I was like, all right, that looks interesting. Like I don't know anything about it, but anytime I'm scrolling through, if I see that cover, I'm like, that looks interesting. But I just never took the leap because I never heard anything. So when I started this film, I was like, what's going on? I was like, this is so like, I think my thing was I was waiting on like I kept looking at it like, okay, this is clearly a metaphor and this is a big, like complex story and it's got a lot to do and it doesn't really mean, and then, hold on, let me pause that thought.
Yeah.
And we've got Kyla here.
A few minutes later.
Kelsey, just, beautifully, I started crying. She just kind of went through what this movie meant to her. She'll probably never be able to restate it again. Something magical. I hate that you missed it. But no, I'm just kidding. But no, she did tell us that she's been watching this movie since she's fifth, sixth grade, somewhere in
like
there.
that,
going through and kind of telling Kelsey, and then we can all go to you, Kyla, kind of just your introduction into anime, because this is both of our introductions. We've never watched an anime film before.
Well, okay. I want to correct you because I have watched, and it's been years since I've watched this, but it was what is it called? It's where it's this little girl and she's a witch and she's flying.
Kiki's Delivery Service.
Kiki's Delivery Service.
I was gonna say, if you can describe it, I can probably tell you what it is.
Yeah, I was like, I know it starts with a K, but I don't know. Yeah.
So it's the same director.
Yes, which after I watched this movie, I Googled it and I was like, okay, it is by the same director.
Yeah.
Have completely different feelings about both these movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was my introduction to anime.
Okay, gotcha.
That and Sailor Moon. I don't know if they consider. Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah, that's something that you have to watch when you're a little girl. So
yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I hate that you said that because I enjoy Sailor Moon, but
I'm glad you enjoyed Sailor Moon.
Whatever. We're moving past
Sorry,
it.
Justin.
No, we moved past it.
Little kid. Let me fix that phrase. It's a show that you have to enjoy as a little kid.
Thank you
Toonami
so much.
Comes on after school.
But no, I was basically telling her like I just had no idea what to expect. Like I've tried anime before, it just never stuck. But because we were going to talk about it, I was like, all right, let me push through. Like those moments where I'm usually like, nope, I don't get it, and I'll usually cut it off. I was like, no, I gotta watch it. I gotta watch all the way through. And I will say this about this movie: it is probably one of the most beautiful films I've ever watched. Like visually engaging, stunning. The music made me want to cry every 5 seconds. Like every time that theme cuts on, I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like the train scene with I was like, I was like, this is so pretty. Like, I was just like, regardless of the story, technically, I was like, this movie is like, dear God, I was like, he is going off right now.
Yes.
And so I think what I was telling you, Kelsey, is I think I was looking too deep. And once I started to just be like, just watch it. Like, just watch it. Like, it's just a movie about a coming of age story about a girl who was scared. Now she's not scared. Just watch it. And I was like, okay, this is a good movie. I was like, I think I tried too hard in the first like 40 minutes to just like break it down.
Decipher everything.
Yeah. I was like, what does this mean? And hold on, there's the frog. And I was like, wait. I was like, no, too much.
Yeah.
Just watch. And I was like, okay, I get it. She was scared. She was nervous. She had self-doubt. Then when it came to fighting for what she loved, she had the courage and it changed her. It's like, that's a damn good movie. Like, it doesn't need to be anything else. Like, I'm sure there's more, but it was like, I didn't need to see all of that. I just needed to just watch it and I was blown away. Like, I started rewatching it just so I could see it again. And I mean, this is, I'm not gonna put any rank on it, but this is a great movie. Like, I really
Good.
was like, okay, I get it.
I'm glad you liked it.
Kyla, go
Uh,
ahead.
so,
Kelsey, take a drink. Take a lot of
Yeah,
drinks. Take a
yes,
lot of
I'm
drinks.
ready.
Take a lot of
Yes,
drinks.
I'm ready.
I'm going to take a drink too. So, I'll be honest. As I watched this movie, I texted Justin like about 30 minutes in, and I was like, this is by far the weirdest movie I've ever watched, and I'm only 30 minutes in, and this is a 2-hour movie.
It is a 2-hour long movie. Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know how long I'm gonna make it. Like I literally had to it was one of those I had to force myself to do it. Now, mind you,
Yeah.
I'm trying not to get killed in, like, if any anime fans are gonna be in the comment section, I'm gonna try not to be disrespectful. So I say all of this respectfully.
They hear you. I don't know how safe you'll be, to be
I
honest,
know,
because people love Studio Ghibli.
and I understand that anime is such a huge subculture that I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to be offensive. So, but for me not being in the culture and only having my taste be of Kiki's Delivery Service, even though that was the same director, it's still two completely different vibes. To me, I'm more about, I guess my tastes generally lie more in realism,
Okay.
versus fantasy. A little bit. I kind of like, and I like it when fantasy and realism kind of blur the line a little bit. I can appreciate that. But this movie was just, it was way, like, it moved past it was beyond Labyrinth. It was beyond, like, it moved past that realm for me, where it was just like, okay, this is a little bit too far for for what I'm able to like. Because I it's like I was kind of felt like how Justin felt, where I kind of just had to, like, stop trying to overthink it and just had to look at the story as a whole to be able to actually understand the plot and the concept.
Yeah.
Because I was getting to certain points and I'm just like, okay, what, like, and then I was getting to a point where I was like, okay, what is this? Why and how and what and when did this? But then I had to think, okay, these things could mean something in a culture that I just don't understand. And if I immersed myself in Japanese, right? In Japanese culture, and what symbolism and stuff that represents in their culture represents certain things, that I would probably understand it a little bit better. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm not, I know I'm going to judge this pretty harshly just because I'm just not a fan. I will agree with Justin. I agree this was a very beautiful movie.
Sure.
Visually, one of the most beautiful animes I've ever watched. I'll give it that. For sure. The music, the plot was like super original. So on those merits, it's a spectacular movie. I'll give it, for uniqueness, for sound quality, for visual quality, all of that is very much top par. So yeah, that's all I could say. I hope that was as respectful.
Yeah, it is weird. And, like, to your point, there's a lot of stuff that's still, like, I don't know. I think I said I watched this like 50 times. I have to Google stuff to be like, okay, so what does this have to do with anything? But I like to research movies, especially with, like, even Indian culture and stuff that I don't understand. So that it does make sense. And I'm like, oh, that's all that was. Or like, oh, that's a deeper meaning, to Justin's point. So totally understand if you have no idea, like, what something is or why they're doing it, that it's just like, okay, what am I actually watching here? So
yeah,
I get that for sure. And I've seen some weird anime, so I know that it's like, well, why did she just do that? Because there's also, and this didn't actually happen in this, but there's a very like incestual subculture of anime that I will never get, but it's very big for a lot of people. And I'm just like, that's not something I'm ever going to enjoy. But
Right.
thankfully, they don't ever do that for Ghibli movies and stuff. But totally understand what you're saying, and I don't think it was
Gotcha.
disrespectful at all. So,
Gotcha.
I will tell the people not to come
No,
for you in the comments for sure.
Thank you. I was like,
problem.
okay, how can I respectfully say I didn't like it
Yeah.
without being mean or come off, rude or.
So why did you like Kiki's? I guess to kind of go back to that.
My version of nerdiness is like Dungeons and Dragons and witches and warlocks and Harry
Sure.
Potter. So that's kind of like where my nerdiness lies. And so Kiki with being a witch, but the way that he portrayed her as a witch was so natural. And so almost not, I don't want to say boring's not the right word, but just common, like normal. Like she was portrayed as, even though she's flying around on a broom, she's got a talking cat. Like to me, it just felt more like the way he portrayed her is just like the girl next door.
Yeah, that's fair.
I liked that vibe. So it seemed more real to me.
Yeah.
Like
Spirit world and witches, two totally different things.
Yes. So it was like, to me, she felt more like, yeah, what?
Well, I was going to say, so it seems like for you appreciate more of a day in the life of, and then this movie is very much a Tom Hanks, like just completely everything got reversed, down black as white. Just so that fantasy, is that where it kind of loses you when it's like just completely off the wall versus no, this is our life. This is a day in the life where something happens, but is not unnatural to us.
I think it's when someone, because like I said, I think because a lot of the things that are in the anime are based off of a culture that I don't understand, it makes it difficult for me to follow when it's like this, when it's their version of fantasy, if that makes sense. Whereas American version of fantasy is based off of American culture. So a lot of the things that they portray in American fantasy is something that I can recognize, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and it's not a lot to sink your teeth into. It's it's more or less surface level. It's, there's not. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and that's fair.
Yeah, because had I moved to Japan and really immersed myself in the culture and and how they operate over there, then I would probably recognize a lot of the symbolism in this anime, even though it's a fantasy, but it's based on their culture. So if this were American, I would probably understand it a lot more as what they're trying to say and what the symbolism is. But because it's not only is it a fantasy, but it's Japanese fantasy. Like there was a lot of stuff going on that I just was like, okay, this is too much for me to digest. Like I would probably have to watch this movie over and over, like she said, like 50 times to even grasp, the nuance in it. So yeah, that's pretty much why.
So I gotcha. So Kelsey, you said over 50 times. Apart from in preparation for this, when was the last time you returned to this movie?
So HBO Max actually recently got rights to Ghibli movies, which before it was like something that you had to search for and go on an illicit website for. So I think the last time I watched Spirited Away was like 3 weeks ago because I needed a feel good movie that I've already watched and could kind of like space out and just watch it and enjoy it kind of thing. And that was actually my first time actually watching it in Japanese rather than watching it in English. Every time I've watched it, it's been in English. So I was like, let's watch it in Japanese for the first time. So that was honestly a totally different experience too, because they translate things differently from the English version and the Japanese
Yeah.
version, which Disney did a great job of translation with this, which they do for all the Ghibli movies. Actually, they try to keep it as close to original as possible, which is really interesting because a lot of the English versions of anime don't. So that's why they get so much praise for their work on that, for sure.
Gotcha. This movie won an Academy Award, Best Animated Feature. And I was surprised it actually didn't win like, original score or soundtrack. I was surprised that it wasn't even nominated. It was just for Best Animated Feature. So with that, tell me, what are your favorite scenes in this movie? If you could maybe do 3. If you could.
Yeah. So I know top one that I can think of is when she figures out Haku's real name and they have the whole like falling scene. That's one of my favorites. I think kind of the train scene is obviously very notorious of her getting No Face to like be a decent person. And then just kind of her introduction into the bathhouse, because you get to kind of see everything. And I think that's super visually appealing. So those are my top 3 in order, I think.
Okay. So the train scene. Let's have this conversation. So in this movie, we have Chihiro going up against Yubaba. She's learning from Lin. She deals with No Face. She sees Haku as a dragon flying and all of this stuff. And then we have 2 minutes of a train ride where we just get music and just see she's on a train. Like, that's literally it. So you said something that I do my research too. So as soon as I finished the movie, I was like,
Time to
what
Google.
did I just watch? Someone tell me what I do. Yes, tell me what I just watched.
Yeah.
And the thing that comes up is the train scene and how masterful it is and how it does so much. But I'd never heard anyone say anything about how you interpreted that. So for you, you saw that as No Face's turn.
Kind of, yeah. So like, right before that, he was eating everyone and everything. So it was the whole like greed situation. And then she was like, bro, what are you doing? Like, we need to go save this person. Are you going to come with me or not? And even though like literally they're just sitting on the train, it's like he's normal. And it's again kind of the visual appeal part of it too. But I guess I haven't seen anything about what other people have said about it in a while. I haven't looked at that part. But what was the like unpacking that you found from that?
Yeah. So the that came up, they said it's Ma, so M-A, and it basically I'm sorry, how do you pronounce his last name? Miyazaki?
Miyazaki, yep.
Is that it? Miyazaki. He basically said it's a term that basically means the empty or the space in between. And for him, he's basically saying story-wise, you need to let it breathe. You need to give it a moment, because this is an action-filled film. Like, there's a lot of set pieces, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of movement. The story, moves very quickly. But he was like, basically, in order for it, you got to let it breathe. And so he used that to let it breathe. But in that, there is that story, or there's those questions being like brought up of like, who are those spirits that are in there? Because those look like regular people.
Right.
I think there's the little girl who's waiting by the train. So it's like, who is she? Is she waiting on someone? Like,
where
was she like
going?
Right.
Yeah, like, is she a young kid who died and is waiting on her parents, or is she, like, your brain just kind of goes like, what's going on? He doesn't answer it. He doesn't address it. It's just, let's just breathe. And I think that's why a lot of people love it. And I'll say that's why I can't wait to kind of rewatch it just to see how it hits me time and time again. Because again, for me, when that music gets going, it's just like, you've got my full attention. And even with my full attention, he doesn't do anything per se. You know what I mean? Like, he's just kind of like, no, let's just sit. Let's just relax. Let's just take a train ride. And you're just like, you got me, man. I'm in your hands.
Okay.
Like, wherever you want to take me, I'm here.
Yeah.
Kyla, what about you? Did that scene stand out to you as someone who didn't love this film?
I'll say.
Hey, no is an answer.
No, I'll say no, it didn't. Only because all of it was just a complete, and I was just like, I'm just along for the ride. Like, I'm just riding. Like,
she's just on the train. She doesn't know where she's going.
I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's about to happen. Yeah, I was like, literally, I'm sorry. I was just, I was like, he was just eating people and chased her through I'm like, and now he's just, I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. Is this a good or bad guy? That's my question. I don't even know what to think about this guy. And then you get, that's all of it was a blur. And I was just,
but you know what? As soon as you said that though, that almost makes me think, does it matter? Like, if you think about it in the grand scheme of life, does it matter? Like, we're all taking that ride. Does it ultimately matter? Like, and not in a, you got to be nice while you're here. No, I just mean, like, it's like, okay,
she takes
doesn't matter who you are.
Like, I don't know, Justin.
Like, no, but I'm just saying, because a movie like this, I love movies like this because they do, that time forces you to ask those questions of like, yo, you just killed all of these people and now you're just sitting here. And it's like, yeah, we're just sitting here. Like, does it really matter whether you were good or bad? Does it matter what people think of you? Like, she was like, are you coming or not? And he was like, yeah, like, and he jumped on. And it's like, so did anything else matter before that? And then after that, it, like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting too deep into it, but it's like, I think he intentionally put that there so that you can start asking questions. Because before that, the movie's just going and going, and you're just like, I can't keep up. And then he's like, yeah, cool, let's just stop. And you're
like the whole time I was on an acid trip.
That's
literally
totally
I said I feel like I'm hallucinating, and this is all just this is all one big like, this whole movie just seems like one big hallucination.
That is part of it too, right? So at the end, it's like, did she dream this because she's back in the car with her family? So it's like, did any of this actually happen, or was it just a dream while she was in the car? Or like, what was the purpose of her dealing with that? And like, she had to rehab that memory of her falling into the river and everything to help Haku. So it was like, to your point, what the fuck is going on, and why did this happen? And now she's back with her family and she probably won't remember any of this.
And the scene that you talked about where they're falling from the sky, her and Haku, and she reveals his name to him and stuff, I did like that scene. But the part, and see, this is just my brain, the part that I focused on that made me laugh was the way that he utilizes tears and makes them like huge and really profound and intense, like in the way that she was crying when they were just standing there. That's one thing, but when they were falling, he made them fly up. So you could like see the tears, and they're up like flying, just going up in the air. And that's what I focused on. And I'm like, really? Was that really like, I'm thinking, is that really necessary to put like, I understand she's crying, but did you have to make them like literally float up in the air? Like, it was just like, that was what I focused on in that scene. I mean, I did appreciate the scene, and I liked when he revealed because out of the whole movie, I was like, oh, I was like, that was my awe moment. Where I was like, oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Like,
We got to see she likes. There we go.
I did. I was like, I don't know, like watching it, like literally when I texted him and it was like that 30 minutes in, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a scene. I said, I hope I find a scene because I don't know if I'm going to find one, but that was the same one. I agree.
Good.
That was a cute moment.
Nice. So there is actually
very good.
Thing in the Ghibli world, which you may have noticed in Kiki's, where like their hair kind of like blows up.
Right.
That's a thing that he does in every single movie where it's their emotional response to stuff. So it's funny that you notice like the tear portion of things, but that's actually something that they've like researched. Like, why would you make somebody's hair, like if they're upset, like to make their hair kind of do that?
Yeah.
So,
oh, now I didn't. Okay, now that you
it's
say
a thing.
that makes sense. Because when I was watching, I was like, it made me laugh because I'm like, why are her tears that big? And they're flowing. I'm like, was that like? I was like, I get that I get the tears. I get the tears in general, but to make them that exaggerated, I was like, that's a little weird. But okay.
Yeah, he's very exaggerated with emotion, and if you like went back and watched Kiki's again, I'm sure you would see the hair thing. But it's a thing he does in every single movie that kind of like compiles them all together. It's kind of interesting to be like, okay, what are you doing with the emotions portion of things?
That makes sense. That makes sense now.
Any favorite quotes? Anything that was said that either has stayed with you or on the rewatch you're like, oh, I like
so
that.
this one I did have to Google because I feel like I've watched it too much to like actually be like, okay, that's something that I remember. And I honestly don't think that it's a quotable movie personally.
I'd agree.
Like
that
there's really nothing that anyone says to be like, oh, that's something that I'm gonna like put on my wall somewhere or like get a mural of it written down. Because I think it's more story based. But when I Googled it, the one that actually stuck out to me a little bit is once you've met someone, you never really forget them. It just takes a while for your memories to return. Which
I wrote that one down.
Yeah.
That one was powerful. I love that.
Yeah. But I mean, that's obviously like the whole premise of the movie and everything, and kind of thinking about like, you know, your childhood friends that you maybe don't speak to, or like if you walk by them on the street you wouldn't recognize them, but if like somebody said something that reminded you of like, oh, I used to play that game with the girl down the street kind of thing, it takes a while, but you might actually remember her name there. So that's the only one that I can really think of.
Yeah, shocker for
Kyla. I won't ask you.
Yeah,
no. She was like nothing.
I was just,
but it's really, I don't think it's a quotable movie. Like looking at everything else, like maybe the thing about her bouquet, like, oh, I finally get a bouquet and it's a goodbye present. Like that's depressing. I'm like, I feel like I would say something like that. But I like everything else is just kind of like, I'm sarcastic. I can't help it. Like, oh, great. Like I'm leaving and I finally get flowers.
I was gonna say I had one. It was Kamaji speaking to Lynn, and he said Lynn was kind of like, "What is she's going to go get Haku? Like what?" And he said, "It's something you wouldn't recognize. It's called love."
Yeah. Okay, that's another one.
And I was like, nice. That one was good. I was like, that one was like you said, he does. There's not like this isn't a Shakespeare level quotable of like, oh man, he really, but
by no means.
When he starts getting into the heart of it, it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, what could make you fight? What would make you conquer your fears? Love. Like that's it. So, you know, and if you've never seen it, you wouldn't understand it. And, you know, he's like, yeah, it's something you wouldn't recognize. It's called love. Like, so that was big for me. Kyla, let's just start with you so we can get to the any favorite characters. Please say Yababa. Please say Yababa.
Oh, God.
Or Yababa's baby. Like,
oh gosh. I honestly, it was a toss up between Yababa and Lynn for me. only because Lynn was probably the only character in the movie that I actually was like, okay, me and her on the same page. Like me and her are right
In
here.
spirits.
Yes. Me and her are right here, but everyone else is like, I don't even I'm yeah. So that's but then Yababa, oh my gosh, like just the outrageousness of her character was funny to me. She was a very funny character. So it was honestly a toss up between those two. But when I break it down, it would probably be Lynn would be my favorite.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Kelsey?
So Haku was my first anime crush ever in the entire world ever.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously he's my favorite.
I see it.
Yeah, like number
really?
one.
You see it. You see it.
Do you see it, Kyla?
You see that. You didn't see anything else, but you saw that. Okay.
I see how his character would be interpreted as a hot character. I mean, out of all the characters in that movie,
at least I wasn't attracted to a frog. I'll say that.
Hold up, y'all weren't feeling Kamaji with the 6 arms? Y'all that ain't do nothing? All right. Well.
He's too old, I think, maybe.
Right.
Oh, it was the old, not the 6 arms. It was the old.
Not the 6 arms.
Okay.
But then Lynn also, because I'm like, I like her personality. She's sarcastic. I'm sarcastic. What's up, girl? Like very similar personalities for sure. So Haku, number one crush. Lynn, sister.
Gotcha.
No, that's no, I like that.
Justin, I'm gonna versus Yababa.
Absolutely not. I that was one of the times where I wanted to cut it off. Like when I first saw Yababa, I was like, I'm not looking at this big.
I mean, you didn't like her mole.
I was like, what? I was like, fam, I'm not watching this. Like, I'm like, because I was like, all right, this is weird. When the parents turned into pigs, I was like, not doing it. I was like, all right, let me keep watching. Then I saw Yababa and I was like, why is her head the side? I was like, I'm not.
Like this big.
I was like, what is this? And then when the big baby was there, I was like, I was like, fam. I was like, oh my God. Like, I was like, it's so weird. I was like, this is so weird. But like I said, I mean, we've talked for days and days. It's a beautiful movie, all that stuff. But it's weird. I am not that I'm not a fan, but yeah, Chihiro wasn't a favorite character. I think I was like, yeah, whatever. But I would say Haku probably. I was like, I think maybe that's just the father in me of like, I'm looking out for you. Like don't worry. Like even when he had the reputation, everyone was like, ooh, don't get on his bad side. And she was just kind of like, I like him. He's been nothing but nice to me.
Right. Unpack here really fast.
Let's unpack it. That's what we're here for. That wine must be hidden. That wine is hidden.
I'm halfway through the bottle already. So we don't need to unpack that part. We'll unpack something else. You know where I work, Justin. So you know that
I understand.
Yes.
See, now I need context. Now I need to know.
You don't want to know where I work. It's okay. I just work at Aerotech. I'm a recruiter. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we're former coworkers, and at our place of business, vibing is
if you didn't drink,
encouraged.
it was weird. So, yeah. Okay. But again, we'll unpack that part later. But something that I've seen from a lot of psychologists, specifically on TikTok, so this may not be anything of note for real, but the reason that people are attracted to characters, either, real life movies or anime or whatever, is because of the character development. So the portion of Haku being a bad guy to everyone else, but as you go through the movie, you realize his backstory and he's just trying to get himself free from Yubaba and all that stuff, because he develops in this 2 hours. You're like, okay, I love him. And in real life, people don't develop that quickly, or you don't ever really see it. So it's like, people are always like, oh, how are you addicted to a fictional character? Like I was talking to Justin earlier, I watched Bridgerton. A, that guy's hot as shit. B, you see him develop from this asshole, whatever, I'm never getting married, to, you know, the end of the season. And everyone's like, why are you obsessed with somebody who's real? But it's like, you get to see all of this stuff in a short period of time.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Sounds like you guys agree. But that's something that people are like, why are people so addicted to fictional characters? It's like, you actually get to see them grow, which you may not see that in real life. So
that makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah. Because in real life, like it takes time to actually, for somebody to open up to you, to allow them to get, allow them to get to know one another. So it's like, versus watching something, you get so invested in characters because you actually get to see them from like beginning to end, get to know the backstory, the reason behind, the reasons why. And when you understand the reasons why, sometimes it allows you to have empathy and allows you to relate and to be more understanding. And that makes total sense. Complete and So I'm obsessed with. I love Bridgerton. That was like,
oh my! I watched it in 2 days because I was like, I have to finish this right now.
So glad we've had the kind of the deep conversations, because I'm going to ask you another deep one.
Okay.
Why this movie? So I know you started with anime, but I know it's deeper than that. Why this movie? When I asked you, no, I want your favorite movie.
For this movie in general, I think because it was my kind of like first gateway, because I didn't watch anime for probably like 10 years, like throughout high school, majority of college, all that stuff. I did watch it a lot in middle school, but it was weird. Right now it's like trendy again. But I think just the overall animation of Ghibli in general, the storyline, and just kind of like the opportunity for me to learn something new. To Kyla's point, like if you don't know anything about Japanese culture, you're going to have to research it to understand it, which I've done a lot. But it's just a beautiful movie, and it's one that I've watched so much that like I can just kind of go about my day if I want to throw it on in the background and like get ready or whatever. But I think just because of how dynamic it is, that I like to watch it over and over. And kind of like I mentioned before, my first time watching it in Japanese was even like a totally different experience as well. Like if you watch Fight Club, every single time you notice something different. So every time that I watch Spirited Away, I kind of get something different from it. Or if I watch it in a different language, like I'm still kind of getting something new. So the fact that it's not the same movie every time, I think is super interesting for me overall.
No, that's awesome. Let's see. Actually, yeah. Has this movie at all affected you in life? Like, did you take something from it? Yeah. And if so, what was it?
I think kind of the point that you've been hitting on of like, the one thing that you need to conquer your fears is love. I haven't found that yet necessarily, so that is still in the works. But I think kind of the courage that you can find is, in yourself, in self-love, and then in other people, in the way that you love them. I think that's kind of a life lesson there. But I mean, overall, of kind of like intro into this whole other world of shows that I'm able to watch, and the different dynamics that I can get from that, that's also been part of it too.
Awesome. Kyla, you got any questions, any follow-up?
I was just thinking I was trying to think of like, because as I was watching this, even though there are two completely different visuals, and I was trying to think of like a comparison with this movie that I could compare to like Japanese culture versus American culture. I don't know if you've two seen the movie Little Nemo, Adventures in Wonderland.
Yeah, so this is exactly what was in my head when I was watching this. I was like, this reminds me of Little Nemo, Adventures in Wonderland. But on crack. Like, because that movie is like Slumberland, so it's like sweet, like
Oh,
and he's
okay.
in
I
the
think I have
sky.
watched this. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies. Is this anime?
It's not anime, and
Okay.
I want to like compare it as like anime, but because I went and checked, so I was like, I'm pretty sure this isn't anime, and it's not. But the being in a totally different realm with weird characters and stuff like that, and as a kid going through that situation and finding like courage within themselves, like that's kind of the same movie, kind of.
Yeah.
In a way, like there's certain aspects.
Oh yeah, no, it is. Yeah, they definitely mirror each other for sure.
Yes. Yeah, and that was the only way I was like, okay, I have to watch this as if I'm watching that movie. And then I kind of was like, okay, that now it's more palatable for me. But that's, as you were talking, I was like, this is like, yeah, I kept reflecting back to Little Nemo, and I was like, okay, yeah, okay, I get it now.
Little Nemo, by the way, you can watch that on YouTube for free. You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. No, I might have to rewatch this because I think I watched it when I was little, but
one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good one. I used to watch that frequently as a kid.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
That's what we're here for. You know, just introducing people to movies. So did you have another point that you wanted to make, Kelsey?
I was gonna say also like just Alice in Wonderland in general, if like you're putting yourself in a situation where like it's nothing close to reality, even though again to your point, it's like completely different cultures, so it's not as understandable. But you know, she kind of got wonderlanded into the spirit world and kind of lost everything that she knew. So that's also kind of comparable there, but just Japanese world rather than British world of what she was going through. So
right,
definitely
makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, Kyla. Kelsey, this is something we never tell our guests.
Oh God. Okay. Hold on. Let me.
Yes, go ahead and drink. Kyla, so here's the thing. We give our guests 15 seconds.
Oh God.
And
it's 20.
Look, Justin, don't jip me.
No, it's 15.
It's 20.
It's 20.
I'm sorry, Kelsey. You don't know.
Kyla said it's 20. I'm going to say it's 20.
I think 20 is too long. 15.
Okay, well, 15.
18.
We're not bargaining. 15.
I have to try.
You don't even know what we're asking you to do.
I don't.
By the way.
Okay.
But we're giving you 15 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
Tell our listeners why they should watch this movie. Kyla, count her down.
All right. And 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so Spirited Away should be watched by anyone who is interested in learning about courage, love, in a completely different world where someone has to grow up, develop herself as a person, and save the man she loves. Oh my God, I was so close.
That was good. See, 15.
Thanks.
That's a good time. 20 would have been too long. You would have been doing a whole bunch of
I didn't even did I?
You didn't. That's 15. You were ready. You did it. You did perfect.
If I would have had 18, I would have finished my sentence.
Wow. We're stuck on that. Okay.
That's what I was
All
going
right.
to say. If she'd had 20, she would have actually finished her entire sentence.
Oh, then it wouldn't have been a game, Kyla. Golly.
Just
All
saying.
right.
You know.
Well, Kelsey, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciated watching this movie. I know Kyla did. We won't go back to her, but we know she did.
Okay.
She doesn't even have to say it. That's how much she appreciated it.
I have other recommendations. If you want to watch other things, Kyla, I can send it to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll get that worked out. But Kelsey, truly, thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you for drinking with us. As always, I've been your host, Justin. For Kyla, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, social distance, all that good stuff. And as always, peace out. We'll see you.
Peace.